societally, we've also now invented this amazing AI technology that can master all those tests. And there's a major crisis going on where the students are now looking around like, why do we need to learn any of this thing when I can just have ChatGPT write this for me or take this test for me? So there's a major assessment crisis going on in definitely American schools, but I would argue this is something that's universal all over the place. And we think the solution is a return to debate. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of great stuff in there, but one thing I really want to highlight is I think you did a really beautiful job in clarifying for me. Let's say we had talked before about the test aspect and how essentially you can rig the current system. AI is too powerful; they're not going to be able to stop it. It's going to be in everyone's contact lenses. You know what I mean? Even
Yep.
right now, there's an immediate crisis, but it's only going to get worse. So that made sense to me intuitively, but the way you map it out in terms of, the system that was developed around computational skills, I think what you do there is you take an interesting concept and a concept that I can vibe with in terms of where things are going, and you make it a matter almost like of historical dialectic, right? Like this is literally the unfolding of history. Like there's an undeniable problem, and you take away the subjectivity of like, well, they're teaching social emotional learning. They're doing this, they're doing that with the school systems. Like there's all these different things that can be criticized or moved around. But what you're talking about is much more fundamental, right? What you're talking about is the schema for the system and how it's like there's a thing that's already happened, right? It's not in the future. AI is
Oh, it's
already
happening
powerful
now.
enough to have broken all of our best systems of kind of like organizing the meritocracy that we all exist in America. And so, what you're talking about isn't just like, hey, here's a curriculum that's useful. We think it'll be good for students and they'll score well on tests, right? What you're talking about, in my reading of it, is more fundamentally our society is in an immediate crisis. And we need to immediately turn this ship towards a certain mode of educational engagement. Um, and kind of really restructured the way we think about education from the ground up. That's really ultimately my takeaway. It's presented as like debate in curriculum, debate across the curriculum, but there's something very very fundamental there that I think you're tapping into.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just all you need to do is look at the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report that came out at the beginning of 2025, where they
Yeah.
list these are the 10 essential skills. And they surveyed, thousands of employers, all the major industries, and like 8 out of those 10 skills are not things you can easily test in a computational knowledge assessment system. But they are
Right.
things that you build and assess in a dialogue, deliberation, and debate-based educational system. So it's not just like it would be nice if we were debating and teaching debate and learning how to debate in classrooms. It is essential for the future of our economy.
Yeah, no, I really love that framing, and I mean that got me fired up. I believe in what I'm doing about 5% more because of that additional context you gave me. I think that's really motivating. So kind of that gets me into like, the theory makes sense, the history makes sense, the solution makes sense to me. Where are you at in the building? And kind of what are your goals for 2026? Where do you want to have this by the end of the year?
So we're modest in our goal for the end of 2026. Our goal is to literally build a Canvas app, right? Canvas is the primary learning management system that exists in most universities and K to 12 spaces. And the goal is to make it as simple as possible for teachers to start to begin this transition. And so the goal is a simple Canvas app that facilitates the transition of assignments away from essays towards debates and dialogues, and to really easily scaffold that for instructors. There's a big challenge here. Like, I can talk about how obvious it is to me that we need to completely change the way we do education, but education as an
Of course,
establishment,
debate guy wants more debate, right? Yeah.
right? But I mean, education itself is
He's just trying to
fundamentally
sell you more debate.
right. Education is fundamentally one of the most conservative forces in society. If you look at like what the purpose of education is, it's to teach about what we've done in the past and try to project that past into the future. And so it's really hard to change education. In fact, there's the quote circulating out there that it's probably easier to land humans on Mars than it is to fix the American education system. So there's a massive challenge here for us. But we have done a lot of work over the past couple of years. We spent last year doing hundreds of customer discovery interviews where we've talked to college presidents and deans and department chairs and professors and students and parents, and to really try to get a better understanding of what the actual needs are, and in particular what the barriers to change would be. And we discovered that there's a couple of major barriers to the implementation of this, and one is teachers are already just completely overburdened and overwhelmed. And the last thing teachers want is a new technology tool in their classroom that they need to learn, or a new login they need to remember, or, and the other thing that happens is like it seems like every year, teachers come into their, beginning of year meetings and professional development meetings, and they're like, here's the new thing we're going to try this year. And they barely try it for a year and then it flames out and then flails. So this is obviously a longer horizon project than something that we can just like,